Today we're going to explore a little bit about homeopathy. For those of you who know the word, homeopathy is a very controversial subject. Most people who know something about it, have heard about it, have a firm opinion about it. It might be a very positive opinion or a very negative one. Okay, Ernie, we got your position on that. And what I'm hoping today is, as a result of what I'll be telling you, that your opinion on that might moderate somewhat. Maybe it'll get stronger. But there's in fact, it worked on me as well, because when I did this research, I learned a lot that affected my own opinion as well. In fact, it'd be interesting for me to know, or those of you here who are familiar with the word, maybe even have tried it, who here by a show of hands has a strong opinion of it, one way or the other? Okay, maybe half of you or so, okay. Have an opinion about homeopathy, plus or minus, doesn't matter. Okay, so, and that's expected. Well, again, as I say, I hope that when we get done, your opinion will change somewhat. The puzzle of homeopathy. Generally speaking, by the modern medical community, every physician, you might say, most of them, discount it as being completely worthless. And they have reasons for that, and we'll get into that. Yet, on the other hand, in face of all of that negativity, it's survived for more than 150 years. The question is, why? And hopefully you'll understand some of that as well. The kind of things that you have in your medicine closet, these are not homeopathic remedies, the vitamins and minerals that you might take every day. And the reason is they're bioactive. They do something to you when you take it. The concentration of it is strong enough that it has some effect on your body. The same thing with ethical pharmaceuticals. The higher tone, higher strength kind of medications you might take for all kinds of medical conditions, they're not homeopathic either. And the main reason is they too are bioactive. They're strong enough to do something to you. Samuel Hahnemann discovered or realized that malaria could be treated with this material, an herb called cinchona bark. Quinine is a derivative from cinchona bark. So it was therapeutic. Well, he kind of turned that on its head. And he said, if I take cinchona bark and it gives me the same kind of symptoms as what it treats, malaria, then maybe in a dilute form, cinchona bark or any other material that gives you some kind of symptom, would be therapeutic. Now, it's just an unfounded assertion. He just said it. There was no proof for it. But that's what he said, and the entire process of homeopathy is based on that single assertion, as it's called. If a material mimics the symptoms of a condition, then in diluted form, it might be therapeutic. That's the key word, it might be. The key thing is what he said is that it must be highly dilute in order to stimulate the body's vital force. He never defines what vital force is, but if the compounds are very, very dilute, and I'll show you about the dilution, it's really incredible, then it would stimulate this vital force. A little math. He advocated a 30C dilution, which is 1/100th to the 30th power. If all of the waters of the oceans of the world, the earth, were fresh water, let's say, obviously they're not, but if they were, and you took a pinch of salt and dropped it in and stirred it up really vigorously, that would be a 12C dilution. And yet 30C is what he's talking about as being typical. Now, he said the higher the C value, the weaker the solution. He understood that, but the greater the potency. So you say, say what? But that was his theory. So what's the conundrum about that, about the dilution? There can be, the dilution is high enough that there are no molecules of the original compound left. There's nothing in the glass, except the impurities that might have been there in the water to start with. He assumed that indefinite dilution was possible. He didn't quite understand that you had atoms and molecules, and eventually you get to the end of the line, there ain't no more. He didn't understand. He figured you could continually dilute and dilute and dilute and get the greater potency the more you diluted. And that is indeed the most implausible aspect of homeopathy. Now, how many of you have ever seen these little guys? How many of you used one? and you still have your ability to smell? Okay. These things are made by a company called Zicam, and they're no longer available on the market. They were labeled as homeopathic. If you look at the box, it says homeopathic, but their concentration was 2x, 1/100th. 2x is not highly dilute by any stretch of the imagination. And the reason they were withdrawn from the market, they were sued, a class action suit for several $100 million by people who lost their sense of smell because of these, because it was not homeopathic. It was, in fact, very biologically active. And so it's just the kind of thing where you have to be very careful when you look at something that says homeopathic, and I'm going to bash this on your head until you get it straight. Just because it says homeopathic doesn't mean it is.